everyone, and welcome to Baron's Den for more Blood Bowl news for the new edition. Very exciting today. It's called Token Skills and Roster Changes. If you haven't seen it already yet, be prepared, because there's going to be some things in here that's going to upset some people. I have no doubt. But anyway, let's get into it. So a new edition means new rules to get stuck into. And with a new season of Blood Bowl right around the corner, we caught up with lead games developer Jay to find out what sort of changes fans of Blood Bowl can expect when the new season drops. Developing a new edition of any game produces a whole host of challenges and opportunities to get stuck into. The Blood Bowl rules team spent countless hours analysing the previous edition, breaking it down, looking for what could be improved, and reading through all the feedback from you, the avid Blood Bowl fan base, to ensure that the new season would be in line with what fans wanted. And, a few more lovely shots of the Toon Kings and the Bretonians. The most important thing to point out is that the new edition of Blood Bowl is still the game we all know and love. Those who have worked on and play-tested the new edition, and first and foremost, die-hard Blood Bowl fans who all want to see every aspect of the game thrive. A lot of love and passion has been poured into this edition, taking on as much community feedback as we can to deliver what we believe to be the best edition of Blood Bowl to date. With that said, let's have a look at some of the key changes that you will find in the new edition. And I do believe this. I 100% believe that the people who've worked on this are die-hard fans, and a lot of passion and love has gone into this. They will have taken on community feedback, but let's be clear about this. It is impossible to please everyone. Any rule changes is going to upset people, and you can't get away from that. It's happened every single time a new team's been released. You get a gaggle of people who immediately complain straight away. Even universally accepted brilliant changes such as Amazons and Norse, in my opinion, the most of the community prefer the way they are now than the way they were. There's still people who complain. And people are allowed to have their opinion, but my point being, you can't try and please everyone. So you just got to try and please the masses as much as you can. Right, let's get into this. So, though it may not be as immediately obvious as some of the other changes on the list, a huge amount of effort has been put into rewording the various rules to be clearer and use consistent terminology. Yep, they've already talked about this in the last edition as well. Not last edition, last news article. Still got the cough. Still can't shake it. The aim has been to make the new edition easier to navigate and follow for new and veteran coaches alike. A good example of this is when a player becomes distracted, which is the catch-all term for when players lose their tackle zones. So when a player fails their role for bonehead, really stupid, becomes subjected to hypnotic gaze, and so on, they are now said to be distracted, rather than having to explain it every time, which also makes it far easier to have other rules interact with it. So we knew that. Secure the ball action, we know this one as well. Already revealed in a previous article, there is a new action called Secure the Ball. This was designed to make it far easier for players to pick up the ball when there is no pressure on the team, which would be an easy thing to do. Now, a player can declare this action, make a move action to the ball, and attempt to pick it up on a 2+, regardless of their agility. Once they've picked it up, their activation immediately ends. Now, there are some caveats to this. A player cannot declare this action if there is a standing opposition player who is not distracted within 2 squares of the ball. There is too much pressure with players being that close. Additionally, a player that is a big guy or one with the unsteady trait also cannot declare this action at all. Okay, so a couple of important updates to this from the last news article we had. They said it ends the turn, and now they've clarified that it ends the activation, which is good. I think it was put on the Discord in the end that it was explained that it is the end of the activation. But just to clear up any doubts, this doesn't cause a turnover. Or doesn't end your turn, when you pick up the ball. It just ends that player's activation. So he can't do, or she can't do any more when they've done that. And the other thing that is very interesting is we were wondering which players were going to be unable to use this. And I think a lot of us suspected big guys. I thought it might be loner, so that would count out star players as well. But several of us were talking, we were wondering, well, how we don't really want Saurus, for example, picking up the ball, or other... Well, not necessarily actually Saurus, but there's certain player types that don't fall under big guys that we still think would be overpowered when picking up the ball. So we still don't know exactly who they are, but we know that they're going to be the ones with the unsteady trait. Were there any other eye gouge, chomps? I'm just checking if there are any new. No, I think we've seen all those ones before. A new addition to the game, the handy Blood Bowl tokens can be used to denote all manner of things on the pitch. These include treemen being rooted and players becoming stunned prone, distracted, among a number of other conditions. These fit around the base of your models so they can be clearly seen and so both coaches can understand what is affecting each player at a glance, rather than having to... I'm so sorry, guys, for my endless cough. Let's do that again. I probably won't have time to edit this one out as well, as I'm doing this as soon as I've got home from work and my son is due to go to Cubs any minute now. These fit around the base of your model so that they can be clearly seen and so that both coaches can understand what is affecting each player at a glance, rather than having to work in some form of code where models that were affected by Bonehead were all facing left. There is even a key of recommended colours that can paint your tokens to help coaches recognise them from afar. This is most apparent with the prone stun tokens. In previous editions of the games, we used to lie models down to denote if they were prone or stunned. However, this came with its own set of issues. Some rather large models, particularly any model that is a big guy, would take up multiple squares when laid down. Additionally, models are generally speaking far more dynamic nowadays than they were back when Blood Bowl was first released, and can roll around the pitch and end up in differing squares. Most importantly, many coaches spend hours lovingly painting and converting their teams, and can constantly line them down, risk them chipping or breaking and ruining all that hard work. Now coaches can use these tokens to denote who is prone and stunned, and protect their models from harm. Plus, your models always look better stood up, rather than when you can only see the bottom of their bases. Okay, so my take on this is good and bad. I think for things such as the individual rooted, distracted, chomped, things like that, I think these tokens are great. I have got a foul token and a blitz token that I always use to help me remember when I've already used my foul and my blitz. And more importantly, it's nice when I see my opponent doing that as well, so they don't try and do two blitzes in one turn. I think then tokens are useful. Stunned, I can see being useful, because sometimes it's not necessarily clear if someone's prone or stunned, because, like I say, the models can roll or not sit nicely, or you can't really stand them on their front or back, they're kind of on their side because of the way their body's twisted. But what I can't see is using them for general prones, because it would take forever to clear all the tokens off at the end of a turn. There's just too many. You can have quite a few prone players, particularly if you're playing bashy teams. And I just think that could slow the game down. Also, I don't really have a problem with lying my players down. So I think what I would do is I would lie players down and then just add the stunned token to the ones that are stunned. That way, it doesn't matter what formation they're lying in. You know that if the token's there, they're stunned. That's probably how I'd do it. Other people might be over the moon by this, and other people might be hating this. I'm sure that there's some Blood Bowl painters out there who are glad that they won't have to lie their models down necessarily, but we'll have to wait to see if that is absorbed by the community or whether people just carry on doing it the way they've always done it. Like I said, for me, I'll use all the tokens except prone, and I'll still lie models down if they've been knocked down if I can. The only time prone ones I'd use is for the big guys, perhaps. Right, the passing game. One of the biggest aspects of feedback for the previous edition was that passing had become far too restrictive and borderline pointless for many teams to even attempt it. Agreed. Yes, I think we can definitely say that. There were teams that could still pass, but it was just a lost art for, over 50% of the teams. It was also overly complex and confusing for many coaches. We've taken that on board and removed wildly inaccurate passes and deflections. Okay, this not only makes passing and intercepting easier, but it also makes them far simpler to understand. No longer do you need to do a load of additional maths to work out what kind of pass you've made. It's now either accurate, inaccurate, or a fumble. And intercepting is now just either an intercept or not. Simple. So basically, it's gone back to the way it was, isn't it? Additionally, many players have had their passing ability improved good, meaning it's not just throwers that can throw the ball, though they are definitely still the best at it. That is good news, and hopefully it means that Imperial Nobility throwers and maybe Valkyries and stuff, they're better as well. Because you don't want a Norse team where your passer, the player with pass, has got the same passing ability as other players on the team. So that, as a Norse player, I'm quite looking forward to seeing that. A few more shots of the Tomb King playing vampires. New skills and traits. The new edition introduces a number of skills and traits providing new abilities for your players, like steady footing mentioned in the release article. Punt also allows players to kick the ball forward without causing a turnover. Taunt also allows the player to force an opponent to follow up when they are blocked. I like it. And Bullseye allows a big guy to not have to scatter a thrown player so long as they make a superb throw. They all seem fine to me. I like Punt because I've often wanted to, especially when time's running out, it's useful just to get rid of the ball. So if that makes that easier, that would be good. Taunt is useful if you want to sucker players into new positions. It just adds an element of control to your game, and I quite like the idea of that. And Bullseye, anything that makes throwing players easier is a good thing for me. Additionally, many skills and traits have been improved, which needed to happen. There were so many average to useless skills that I hope that they've combined some as well. Monstrous Mouth now allows a player to perform the Chomp special action. Armbar will now award SPP for any casualties caused by it. That's interesting. So failed dodges doesn't normally cause SPP when a player triggers it. The trouble is that could be quite difficult because if you're what happens if you're in a player who's no, I suppose it works for armbar because you know if it's that player because armbar itself has triggered the mighty blow, so you should be able to work that out. Where it would be more difficult is if it was straight on every single dodge out. I don't know about how easy it will be to attribute that one, but it's a good thing that it's in there. And shadowing now triggers on a straight 4+. Wow, is shadowing going to be useful? Finally, there is also a new... don't get me wrong, shadowing is useful for just a very few select players. On a straight 4+, that's going to be more useful. Probably less useful for a couple of players and more useful for a lot of players. Finally, there is also a new category of skills. Devious skills, yes. Yes. I've been talking about this. I said we could have a skill tree all about dirty playing and dirty skills, so I'm pleased about that. Some players like Goblins will have access to them as primaries, good. Others may have them as secondary skills, whilst players who traditionally adhere to the rules of Blood Bowl may not have access at all. There are a number of new skills in this category, and a number of others have moved here as well, such as Dirty Player, Pile Driver, Shadowing, and Sneaky Git. Right, that is a hot take. Look at that. The massive combo for Dirty Player and Sneaky Git is now primary for Goblins. So you're not having to pay double for Dirty Player. I'd be interested to see who else has access to Devious. Can you imagine if some of the, you'd think Chaos teams would have access to being Devious, and maybe some of the Undead teams, so that could be overpowering. That's gonna hurt some of the straight lace teams. So if you're running humans, I suppose humans are dirty players, aren't they? Maybe it'll be more positionals that are restricted as opposed to teams, because that would be unfair, wouldn't it? Bundling Dirty Player and Sneaky Git up for some teams and not others. But for me, that's probably the most striking thing I've read so far. Having Sneaky Git, Dirty Player in the same category means that some players will definitely get that on primary. But also, maybe most players won't, so it will reduce... That'll stop other teams, like tier 1 and 2 teams, picking up Sneaky Git. Like, for example, Wood Elf. A Wood Elf lineman can pick up Sneaky Git and Dirty Player really easy because they have general agility access. If they have, secondary Devious, now they're both secondaries. So some of the teams that have already got a lot of other good things going for them might not be able to foul with these two skills as easy as they used to. Oh gosh, here we go. This is the big one. Team roster changes. Perhaps the biggest change, yes, in this new edition is that all the rosters have been looked at, tweaked and changed to provide a new and exciting challenge for coaches. I have no problem with that. The first thing to note is that the number of positionals on a roster will now match what is in the team box, meaning you should never have to buy a second box just to get more blitzers and runners, etc. Oof. All right, I'm going to come back. I'm going to read the rest of it, and then I'm going to come back to my thoughts on it. There are a couple of exceptions to this. Positionals that are entirely separate from the contents of the team box, such as Goblin Secret Weapons, Dark Elf Assassins, Bull Centaurs, and most big guys will remain untouched, as they don't require you to buy a second team box and have a load of redundant models. Additionally, the Ogre team will still allow 0 to 6, or 0 to 5 and a Rump Hunter, as otherwise the team simply wouldn't function. Plus, you can still get additional Ogres separately. You can. Whilst this will mean that a number of rosters will lose a number of their better players, what we have done is rebalance a number of positionals with improved stats or skills across the board to account for this. Here are some examples to showcase this. A Skaven team can now only take 2 Gutter Runners, but their Blitzers have now gained Movement 8 and Strip Ball. Dark Elves can now take 2 Blitzers, but their Runners gain Punt and their Assassins gain Hit and Run, which now works with Stab. Very nice. Shambling Undead can now take 2 Ghouls, but these gained Regeneration and their Zombies gained Eye Gouge. These are by no means the only roster changes. Every team has been reassessed, with many teams gaining improvements, new or different skills, or new special rules, which will change how they play on the pitch. The main aim of these changes is to provide coaches with a new and gaming experience. Many coaches have seen Blood Bowl as a solved game where the best build for each roster is already determined. This is true. The new edition will shake all that up and provide experienced coaches with a brand new challenge to get their teeth stuck into. Right, okay, so my thoughts on this. I actually have no problem. There's my view on this, and then there's going to be the Blood Bowl community view on this. The Blood Bowl community on this is going to be a firestorm. And I'm sure the World's team are expecting this because they're not stupid. I talked earlier about how some people aren't going to like their things changing. This is going to change. Like, take Orcs. Orcs have been the same for years. Throughout, in fact, it hasn't changed pretty much, apart from the addition of Goblins and Animosity. Hasn't really changed since I was playing in the mid-90s. This is the biggest change Orcs will have seen because now they're going from 4 big uns and 4 blitzers to 2 of each. That is huge. Even if you make them better and other players better, that is a huge change and people won't like it. I play a bit of Orcs and it wouldn't bother me in the slightest. I've been campaigning actually that they should have one of those positionals reduced anyway because I do think Orcs were one of those teams that weren't great to play against. They were just very powerful in my opinion. And I would have turned to 2 blitzers, but I probably would have kept 4 big uns. Taking 2 away of each, I think, is harsh. And whenever you take something away, you've got to give it back. So we'll have to wait to see what else they've got. But that's going to hurt a lot of people. But for me personally, I like it. I like to see change. I like to see new ways of playing the game. If you hate it, you can always go back to the old way, I suppose. But I'm here for this. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I play Skaven. So this is going to be a huge change, and it's going to be disappointing that you can now only build 2 gutter runners. Not so much because you need 4 gutter runners, but it's nice that you can specialise each gutter runner. You can have your ball scorer, you can have your ball hawk, you can have your sneaky get dirty player one if you wanted to. You can have your nuisance player who just hangs around with diving tackle. There's so many ways of building those gutter runners, and you've lost a bit of that fun now. However, we'll have to wait and see what else you can do with the team. I'm not going to say no to a movement 8 blitzer with strip ball. That's a nice piece to start with. You wouldn't put strip ball on a Skaven blitzer usually, necessarily. Wouldn't be one of the first things you'd use anyway. But if you're getting it almost for free, well, you're not going to get it for free. They're going to change the value, presumably, to accommodate this. But what I mean is, that's not something you're ever going to have to choose now. It's already built in into that blitzer, and it will be useful. Because you are going to be blitzing, you are going to be going after the ball with blitzers at times. So I think strip ball is useful for him to have. Obviously, you'd much rather have things like Mighty Blow Guard or Tackle, but you wouldn't. I don't think you'd complain about having strip ball for free. Does movement 8 and strip ball account for not having 2 gutter runners? I'm sure most Skaven players are not going to agree with that, but if you ask a lot of opposition players, are they going to be happy that there's 2 less gutter runners now on the pitch? Most likely. Is it going to make the gutter runners a bit more special, a bit more important to the team? Definitely. So, it's not the end of the world for me, but I can imagine it will be for some coaches. This is great. I mean, assassins with hit and run and working with stab, that is really good because it's often been said the big weakness of assassins is that if it fails, they are left in base contact and they're usually pretty squishy. So that is brilliant because it will allow you to move away, meaning that your opposition player will have to blitz you as opposed to just performing a simple block on you. So I think that is huge. However, it's only good for Dark Elf Assassins if they're the only ones that get it. What happens if the Sneaky Stabbers get it as well? And a few other positionals that have got stab or star players? Then it means that the Dark Elves aren't necessarily getting that specifically for them. That's just something they're changing with the stabby players. I don't know. Maybe it will be just the Dark Elf Assassins. Runners gaining punts, again, I don't think that really balances out the lack of blitzers, but I don't know. Undead taking 2 ghouls. Now, I play Undead as well, and having regeneration on a ghoul is massive. I will say that. So, losing 2 potential ball carriers is definitely going to hurt them, but we don't know what eye gouge does yet, but regen on ghouls is huge. They're always dying, aren't they? So yeah, that's. I mean, it's not automatic regen. Anyone who watches my Blood Bowl games knows that regen likes to fail on me. But yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the video there. I'm going to take some time to digest this. We'll wait to see we get more news. But on the whole, I'm pretty pleased with that. It does say it'll be available to pre-order soon, so that could be in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll catch up maybe later in this week to have a deeper dive into these. Anyway, that's it from me. Bye for now.